These images, by the way, are taken from a list apart. And I want to talk about HTML5. These images are actually really cute, and they illustrate, I think, HTML5. And all right, they illustrate like the features of HTML5. Okay, so um, this workshop was called HTML5 CSS3 because that's the latest version of HTML. What that essentially means is that there was a bunch of old people got together and decided to create a new spec, a new specification called HTML5. Slides. And what we've been learning has actually been HTML4, as in like it's old HTML. This is HTML that I learned when I was 15, and it's HTML that runs much of the web. But the next version of HTML, which is just in recent years, these slides were created 2 years ago, back when we were still called Linux and US. And the new version of HTML5 proposes to have all kinds of rich, amazing features. You can play games in your browser. You can actually play like Counter-Strike in your browser with HTML5. You can watch videos without Flash. You can listen to audio. You can manipulate the audio just by moving things, and you change the voice. You can animate the audio, all using HTML5. And what HTML5 really is a bunch of assorted technologies. Okay, so sorry, this is another presentation that I made, but this presentation assumes that you know what HTML and CSS is, and now you do because you went through this workshop. So what is HTML5? HTML5 is a bunch of technologies. It's not just one thing. It consists of HTML5, which is new kinds of tags, which we will write. We will change our website that looks very pretty. We'll change it to something that is semantically, that's HTML5 in a bit, which means replacing divs. I told you that this was really important. Well, it's changed a little bit in HTML5. There's CSS3, which is things like the box shadow. That didn't exist in 1997. That didn't exist when I was 15 years old and I was learning HTML for the first time. The box shadow thing was, you know, the beautiful little shadow beneath a div box. In the past, you had to go to Photoshop and create a little image that had a shadow, and then you have to arrange the image behind your box. That was how crazy it was. Now with HTML5, CSS3, you just write the rule and it just appears. Okay, there's a whole bunch of things that we're not going to talk about because it's not going to be covered in this workshop. Web storage, web SQL, web sockets, web workers, geolocation. This is all JavaScript. And in fact, some of them may be deprecated already. Some of them may have been cancelled. Okay, 4 things you should know about HTML5. First, it's not one thing, right? There's a whole bunch of specs, there's a whole bunch of technologies, and they work together. Like I said, the pictures are really cute and they sort of illustrate the features. Second thing, it's backwards compatible. Everything we've written so far, because we defined doc-type HTML at the very top, remember in our Sublime, we wrote doc-type HTML. Sorry. You go to Sublime and you take a look at the top, there's doc-type HTML. Everything that we've written so far, even though it's HTML4 code, is still HTML5 because HTML5 is backwards compatible. Any old HTML code that you've written in the past, if you've written any, is still valid in HTML5. Okay? Third, it's really easy to switch. We just did that. We typed it at the very top of our document. And 4, it already works. Well, kind of. And it's actually gotten, this was 2 years ago, but it's in fact gotten even better today. Most of HTML5's, most of the spec has already been implemented. Okay. These are a bunch of browsers that you may have heard of and you may have used. Everything except for, so what these words are above these browsers are their rendering engines. They're basically the software that draws the page. So you wrote HTML code, right? There has to be some software in the browser that will take your HTML code and turn it into pretty boxes and pictures and images arranged properly. And each of these rendering engines, each of these browsers have different rendering engines. Firefox has Gecko, Safari and Chrome both share WebKit, and IE uses Trident. Does it used to use Trident? Okay. Yeah. And each of these rendering engines have slightly different support for different HTML features. HTML5 features, sorry. And this is why I said earlier that we had to have like box shadow, WebKit, Moz, box shadow. That Moz is for Firefox, WebKit is for Chrome and Safari. It's because different companies supported different tags at different times. It's really, really sad. But that's one thing. So okay, 4 things again, that's it. Let's just stop. Let's stop here. Okay? Now, what I want you to do is that we've written a whole bunch of HTML code, and it's all semantic, and it's all valid, but it can be better, right? In HTML5, there's this idea of semantic elements. So instead of divs with classes, and the classes define the styles, we instead have sections that have semantic meaning. What semantic meaning means is it's machine readable, or rather, a computer can go to your website and know that, okay, this section is the header, this section is an article, this section is a section, this section is a navigation bar or navigation section, this is an aside. What an aside is like, say you write an article and then you want to make some jokes in the side or find some funny pictures and you just put it in an aside. Or this is a time. This is important because more and more of our lives are going online. And in the future, it can very well be that you just you ask Siri to check out something on some website, and it goes there, it checks out all these tags, and it knows which is which, and it tells you the time from the article that was posted on this date. Okay, that's the dream of HTML5. We're not there yet. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change the divs that we've written into HTML5 tags. And this is really easy. So first thing let's do is let's change this div into section. I think I'm right. Okay. Yeah, so we have to change a whole bunch of divs. This is a section. Yes. What? Scroll up. Oh, right. Sorry. You have to change the closing. Very good. So every tag must open and close. So I nearly forgot to change this a second. Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. This is not section, right? It's a section, but it may be better to call this a header because it's like the top. So this is definitely a section, right? Let's close it by following the Sublime text should give you lines to follow. It's a bit hard because my theme is very light. I usually like a black theme, so it's easier to read. But you scroll down this section, okay? And I want you to change each of the div class span for each of these into sections as well. So not manual work, but let's do that. Okay, and the last bit, change it to footer. So it tells any computer reading your web page that this is the footer. What? Oops. Oh, sorry. There's a potential danger in HTML. Okay? Now this should make no difference whatsoever when you reload the page in Chrome. Partly that's because Chrome is on the bleeding, one of the browsers that's at the bleeding edge. It implements most of HTML5, so it understands what this means. But if you may have problems in IE, I wouldn't go into like how to solve those problems. I just want to expose you to the idea that HTML5 tags exist, and they exist to describe your page elements for you. Alright, so I just reloaded the page and it looks exactly the same. The only difference is that it's a huge difference to a machine reading your web page. If a computer program goes to your web page, it's now able to tell what sections are for what things, what sections contain what kinds of content. Alright. So we've turned this into HTML5. We've got header. Div class container, I'm not really happy with this, but I am not sure what tag to use. Can we all go to the... Actually, you know what? Let's use the Mozilla Developer Network, which I asked you to go. Let's all go to the section of HTML5. So it's developer.mozilla.org if you don't already know. We click the section on HTML5. Let's see if there's a tag that we can use, right? So this is an example of what you should be doing after this workshop. I mean, if you ever have any question, you just go to this and you surf around. There you are. There's sections and outlines, right? And you can look at this, and it explains everything to you. Problem solved by HTML5, and it explains the philosophy for each of these tags. And the section, there's footer, there's aside. I think it should be a section. Yeah, it's a section according to this. So let's change it to section. So this is something I wasn't clear about, and I just checked it, and I checked it in front of all of you. And you guys should do the same when you're experiencing problems. This is a div. Oh, actually, you know what? I think we can get rid of this div. It's kind of ugly. We don't want to use divs. Oh, well, we try to use divs as little as we can. It's okay if you want to apply classes, because divisions are still how people apply CSS styles. But you can make it more semantically meaningful by adding descriptive HTML5 tags in place of divs. They are exactly the same as divs. All right. Okay. So, what have I shown you? We've neared the end of our workshop. What have I shown you? I've shown you that there is such a thing as CSS. There is HTML. I've shown you basic tags in HTML. I've shown you that you can change the way HTML looks by changing CSS for each of the HTML tags that you wrote on the page. Then I showed you and told everybody together created a personal page for themselves. And then after that, I taught you Twitter Bootstrap, which is this awesome shortcut for making your page beautiful. You just have to read up and use the classes and the IDs that they give you, that they ask you to use. Apply them to elements, and once you include the style sheets, everything looks pretty. And lastly, I told you about HTML5, about semantic meaning of tags. I gave you a very rough introduction to it. There's a lot more that you can do with it. I mean, people make games in it. Super Mario and HTML5. That's pretty cool. You should probably go read up on that. I've also given you a bunch of links. They will be all on the Hackerschool site. I've given you 0to255.com, and I've given you developer.mozilla.org. The last thing that we should talk about is this website lives on your browser. It lives on your hard disk. It's not on the web, right? How do you host it on the internet? That takes too long for this workshop. This workshop is to teach you how to write web pages, not how to create web pages. But just as a demo, I'm going to show you I'm going to host it on the Hackerschool website live. Well, things can go wrong. If the internet fails, I'm dead. Okay, let's see. Let's try. So this is FileZilla. FileZilla is a FTP client. FTP means File Transfer Protocol. So I'm going to FTP into my personal site, or actually my hosting account. Okay. What's my password? Okay, click on it. So I'm now accessing the file system on my server, which is where I can upload the HTML file. Okay, so this is the inside of the server that powers nushackers.org and powers NT-News and powers a couple other things. So there's a bunch of projects that I've done. Some of them are not websites, but it turns out that Hackerschool is a website. So this is the inside of that website. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to static, and I'm going to do a very Mac thing, which is drag and drop. So it's personal blank. Actually, let's name it to personal. Actually, you know what? Let's call it Cedric. Oh yeah, that's personal. Personal's good. I'm gonna drag. I'm sorry. No. What did I just do? What? Drag the whole folder? Oh yeah, I need to drag the whole folder. That's stupid. Okay. Okay, it's uploading. So, assuming that NUS internet doesn't explode on me, everything should be transferred. Okay. So, if you go out and buy a hosting package, you probably transfer files via FTP as well. It may be a bit slow though. And once this is uploaded, how you access the site is you go to your browser, you go to school.nushackers.org, you /static/personal/personal.html, and it should work. Yes, we've got it. There you are. It's live on the web. You can visit it yourself. And this will be how you host. If you have a server or some hosting space, if you're an SOC student, you have access to Sunfire. You can host it on your Sunfire. By just I don't think you can SFTP. I'm not sure. Can you SFTP to Sunfire? I've never tried it, but you can SEP. That requires some Unix kung fu. Okay. Anyway. Right. It's this. You can go there if you want. Okay. Actually, I don't like this big P. I want it to be small p, so I'm going to rename the folder. But that's the essential idea. I've shown you that this is how you host HTML pages. All right. So we're done for today. This is just the first Hackerschool workshop. There's another one on Monday. But on Monday, you won't be learning HTML or CSS. You'll be learning jQuery, which is this way of animating stuff. So if you've gone to a website, right, and you've clicked, like say you've clicked on things and they animated, or example, okay, let me just give you show you what I mean. Twitter has a whole bunch of very beautiful jQuery things built on top of jQuery. It's JavaScript. The most beautiful of which I think is carousel. Like this is immediately beautiful. So in jQuery, you can do things like this. And the whole tab here, JavaScript, is built on top of jQuery. So on Monday, the Hackerschool workshop will be focusing on jQuery. And jQuery is actually really easy to learn. So we're using that as a trick to teach you version control, which is GitHub. Sorry, Git. What am I saying? GitHub. That's rubbish. Which is how programmers save their code and share their code and work together on programming projects. Just about every large programming project, if you're in industry or if you are working in open source, uses some form of version control, and Git is one of the most popular ones. So we're going to teach that on Monday. That's 10 to 1 p.m., just like today. And next semester, we're probably going to do another bunch of workshops. These two workshops this semester actually has been a test, like to see whether this format works, and I think it does. And so next semester, keep a lookout for workshops on Rails. I think web development. We might use Rails, we might use Sinatra. We're going to do another repeat of the HTML one. We're going to do another repeat of jQuery and Git. And we're going to maybe do a one on Bash scripting. So the Unix Kung Fu can be taught to you in a fun way. Right? Okay, anyway, thank you for your time. If any questions, refer to your handout. Your handout says that you can post questions to the NUS Hackers Google groups. People there are really friendly. Thank you for coming. And I hope you have what? Friday Hacks? Oh, yes. And yeah, thank you for reminding me. If you're interested in learning about these kinds of things, every Friday we have a session that's exactly in this room. We invite two speakers from the industry or from academia to come and speak, and we give everyone free pizza after the talks. It's called Friday Hacks, and it happens here every Friday during the semester, and there's a list of speakers and topics that you can browse. And the last thing is we maintain a news site called Anti-News. It's one of the projects hosted on my account. You need an invitation to post stuff and to comment. And if you want an invitation, you can just come to one of us after this and just ask for it, and we'll give it to you. Right? Thank you very much for your time. I hope you've learned something. Yes. Right, and yeah, this is why we need to build this into the system. Contact. Alright, so in Hackerschool, we have a mail to, which you know how to write now. If you click this, you can email us.
Yeah, do email us your feedback. It
Yes.
will be really helpful.
Thank you. So anyway, thank you, and have a good lunch. Have a good day.